Hi everybody, welcome back. It's been a while since we recorded a video. I'm joined today by Preston Maloney. He is one of our most senior drivers. How long have you worked for us, Preston?
About almost 6 years now.
6 years. So let's see, you probably got your own truck. How long ago did we order one spec for you?
About 2 years ago.
How do you like it?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, yeah. I've done a little bit of customizing for sure.
Any guess how many miles you have on it?
Over 200 and well, over 300,000 miles.
In
Yeah,
2 years.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You're,
Yeah.
you're, you're staying busy.
Yes, sir.
Before we get too far into this, Preston has his own podcast on YouTube. What's the name of your podcast, Preston?
It is called the Echo Chamber. It's kind of hard to find because I haven't promoted it very much, so it doesn't show up right when you search for it. But if you search Echo Chamber Episode 1, and you'll see my smiling face on there, and then you can enjoy my rantings on political and social topics.
I have listened. I enjoy it. I was listening last weekend when I was cleaning my garage. He does a great job, and he records in his truck. I wanted to get that in there. So that's how big our trucks are, I guess. You got a nice little studio setup you put in with sound deadening, like sound absorbing panels and everything.
Yep, lighting setup, multi-camera setup, and sound deadening foam and everything. It's pretty crazy when you're creative enough. There's a lot of space in there to work with.
Awesome. Well, me and Preston wanted to get on today and record a little video about our new driver pay package that we rolled out just about 3 months ago. It was at the previous safety meeting we had. We announced it. I think it went into effect in early February. So we're about 14 weeks in. So Preston, how are you liking it?
I've been really excited about it. In fact, in trying to help figure out how to put this system together, we had looked at a couple of drivers and kind of tracked how they did. We clued them in ahead of time, said, hey, we want to experiment with this program, and so we're going to track your what you would earn versus what you're earning now on this new system. So try to do these things, try to use your cruise control, try to keep your idle time down, and let's see, because we wanted to see kind of a spectrum of where people were performing. There was one driver in particular who was not doing so hot on a lot of those metrics. And it kind of made me nervous when we were putting this new system out. I was like, man, I want this really to work well for everyone. But I remember a week or two in when we had implemented the program, this driver called me up and was like, man, I'm really excited. I'm just killing these numbers and I'm going to get this great paycheck. And so that was really exciting to hear. And that really was what I was hoping for. So yeah, I've been very happy with it.
Well, and our main goal with this pay package was it was twofold. Our number one was to improve our cruise usage as a fleet, which we've absolutely accomplished that. Our cruise percentage, we tracked the 15 weeks since we announced the program versus the 15 weeks prior to announcing the program, and our average cruise percentage is up over 14% as a fleet. And keep in mind, there are some drivers that had very little improvement because they were already at the top. About a quarter of our drivers were in the 70 or 80% range already. The rest of them have came up, and that's exactly what we were going for. We also have cut our idle time by about 3.5% since we implemented it. Again, we had some drivers that were all the way at the top. Like they didn't have much idle time to cut out, but we've seen improvement on the drivers we wanted to see some improvement out of, and it's been good. It has helped us save some money, but the biggest thing, and this is what we were really going for, we have seen a dramatic decrease in harsh events from our drivers. Now, we've had some. You always have some harsh events, animals, things like that. But harsh events, when the cruise is set, almost never happens. It does happen on occasion. The trucks aren't perfect. But we haven't seen any from our OTR drivers when they are driving because they're using their cruise all the time and the truck's generally doing what it should do.
And that's one thing that I heard from some of our older veteran drivers. They were kind of uncomfortable with the idea of the truck doing so much of the driving for them and not having as much control, and relying on those safety systems. But it's not really meant to replace the driver.
No.
And that's the thing, is when we have the incredible record that our drivers have as far as safety, and you combine it with this system that's kind of our backup, in case we miss something, it can catch something. And there are several times where it will miss things and our drivers will catch threats. So it's the combination of the two that's going to make a huge difference, like financially, safety-wise, across the board. And so having a pay system that incentivizes that on a core level is really awesome.
It's costing us. So the way the incentive works is you get assigned a score based on what your percentage of cruise usage and idle time is each week. And that score equates to anywhere between 1 penny and 8 cents per mile, and it's paid that week. We look at it on a week-by-week basis because there's going to be weeks when you have weather and you can't use the cruise as much as you want. Well, we're not really adjusting for instances like that because they're kind of few and far between, even out here in Utah where we are. But it's only a week, and then we're moving on. Have you had, I'm curious, in the 14 weeks, have you had a week when you didn't get 8 cents?
I don't think so. There might have been one or 2 weeks where I might have just barely undercut, but honestly, I haven't been trying as hard as I could be, and I know I could be killing it.
So you've been at 7 or 8 cents every week.
As far as the score, yes, yep.
Okay.
Never.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the score goes from I believe it's 40 to 90. It's really based on cruise percentage. So if you're in the cruise percentage, if you're 80 or above, as long as you're not idling every night or something ridiculous, you're going to score the highest score and get the 8 cents a mile that week. With our fleet of 45 OTR trucks, it's costing us between $4,000 and $5,000 a week. So, we're talking $200,000 to $250,000 a year that we're making this investment. However, we see it as we are getting some fuel mileage back, but one rear end accident can very easily cost way more than $250,000. So we see it as an investment in safety and a way to pass the savings of not having accidents along to our drivers nearly instantaneously.
Yeah.
And they've just killed it for us. So we're super happy with the way it's worked so far.
Yeah.
There are new parameters that Samsara has brought in that we may look at later. We're going to leave this alone for at least a year as is. We're not going to do anything with this incentive package for at least a year.
Yeah. One thing I really like about this system is it really shows a lot of respect for the driver, because a lot of drivers will if you had a system, instead of doing this, if you had a system where you were calling up drivers and being like, come on, we really need to see you using your cruise more, it's really important for our safety, and trying to give that feedback, that would wear on some drivers. And having the whole fleet governed at 62 miles an hour, a lot of drivers would get really irritated with that speed and feel really held back. So you're giving your drivers this huge flexibility in saying, here's our expectations, here's the range that we're comfortable with. You get to be the captain of your ship and manage this how you want. Yeah. Recognize if you're gonna run your ship this way, it's gonna cost the company more, and so we're probably gonna pay you less. But if you want to earn more, then the potential is there. In fact, you were telling me just a minute ago, and this is really important for the way I was hoping this pay system would work. A brand new driver, if he's putting in the work and performing, can earn 62 cents a mile, which is incredible for a brand new driver to be able to make that money.
We revamped our entire pay. We changed how we would determine how anyone would start. So like the least experienced driver we could possibly hire here, which is 2 years, their base pay is going to be 53 cents a mile. But then it's like nowhere but up from there. The driver efficiency bonus can be up to 8 cents a mile, and we do have a couple of very new drivers working here that are in that 53, 54, 55 cent base. But on a weekly basis, they are making 60 to 62 cents a mile.
Nice.
Fairly easily. they're making really good money and they're very happy here. So it's working exactly how we wanted it to. We have an avenue now to give our long-term drivers annual pay increases on their anniversary date. That was the other thing we wanted to go for, and we wanted to really reward our very long-term drivers. So we have some drivers that have been with us for 20 years plus that their base pay is in the mid 70s, and they're going and getting the extra 8 cents a mile.
Nice.
So they're making some really good money. They're it's not really encouraging them to retire. So I will say that they're pretty happy with what they're making today. A driver like that, he never has questions for us, right? I mean, someone who's been working here for 20 or 25 years, they are so low maintenance as far as dispatch and safety and finance goes. Why would we not pay them the absolute most we think we can afford? They deserve it. They've put in their time here, and I'm happy we're able to pay them that well.
Yeah, absolutely. I have never heard of a pay system that represents this kind of value for the driver. So I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm grateful for what this pay means for me and my family, and I'm sure it does for all of our other drivers. And I would be surprised to find anything out there in the industry that is as good as what we have here at Stokes. It's very, very good system.
Yep, I agree. Well, thanks for joining me for that. You have, and I'll do my best to answer in a correct way. You have some questions about future tech in trucking.
Yes. So we are, and this is a passion of yours that I've noticed, implementing new safety features into the trucks as they come out, which has been a huge benefit to the company. And that is going to be an ongoing process. And if you see down the road, there are how that works out, there are going to be more and more features that, morally speaking, financially speaking, there's no way that we can't continue down the road of integrating these new safety features that are going to do more and more of the driving, more and more of the jobs that we've relied on our drivers to do. So the fear is not only in trucking, but in all industries, but specifically here we'll talk about trucking. AI development and automated system development and sensor technology and camera technology are all advancing at a breakneck speed. So what is Stokes' kind of outlook and plan on how to handle going forward into the world of AI and taking over more and more of the jobs that our truck drivers do?
So I probably better preface this with whether you think AI is affecting your everyday life or not, you're wrong. It is. Everything. Many of our customers are utilizing AI to optimize routes, to optimize loads, to find inefficiencies in their own system. I use AI nearly every day. I use ChatGPT with most emails I send. They get filtered through ChatGPT because it makes things sound a lot better than I do. That all said, self-driving, full autonomous in what we do in our lanes is a few years away. I think it's probably closer than a lot of us realize. I actually believe there are probably lanes we service that in the next 5 to 7 years could certainly be done with autonomous vehicles. Maybe not start to finish, right? You still have to have some system to open doors, pre-trip trucks, things like that. But the driving, the A to B, even today, a lot of the lanes we do today could absolutely be done in an autonomous vehicle. I was at the Technology and Maintenance Council conference in Nashville the early part of March. And I had 2 conferences back to back. One was Food Shippers and one was TMC. At both, there were autonomous trucks there on display. It's closer and it's coming quicker than we all realize. There may be some roadblocks with legislation. And by the way, I am not taking a stance. I am just telling you my opinion. This is my opinion, not the opinion of Stokes Trucking. I believe there will probably be some states that are slow adopters. Right now, they're running pilot programs in Texas and New Mexico. There is freight being hauled today in Texas, not just in the remote areas between Dallas and San Antonio and El Paso and Dallas. These are heavily traveled corridors. However, what we have to keep in mind as drivers is computers don't get distracted. They rarely make a mistake. They do make mistakes. The systems we have on our trucks today are not foolproof. They're not perfect. The systems they're putting on full autonomous trucks are very, very close. And they can operate on off-peak hours when traffic is low. They don't have a clock they have to keep track of, so they can go at the optimum speed for efficiency all the time. The tipping point's going to be when it's determined that it is safer, even if it's not perfect, for an autonomous vehicle to do it versus a driver.
Yeah.
So this is coming. It's not stopping. We're not going to, it's not preventable. And it's not 20 years away anymore. It's 5, 7,
that's
10
been
years
my
away.
guess. Yeah.
However, there's still going to be jobs for drivers. Our drivers aren't going away. They're really struggling with developing autonomous vehicles to back trucks, trailers in and out of docks. Someone has to open the door. One of the things they talked about at TMC was how they're going to pre-trip. So there's on those autonomous trucks, there are sensors everywhere, but they're still essentially, they're going to adopt rules on how they should check and maintain these trucks. They're talking about essentially doing an annual inspection every 24 hours on the truck and trailer.
That makes sense with the amount that they're going to be relying on each of those individual pieces of equipment having to work correctly.
Yep.
For it to work properly and safely. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I believe when they do start rolling it out, it's initially there will be some hiccups, but very quickly we'll realize it's much safer than the system we have today.
Do you think we'll have to have drivers behind the wheel while the trucks drive themselves for a period of time?
I do. I think it's going to vary from state to state, or it may even just be location to location. From Tooele to Reno, even if it has a problem and it runs off the road, is it really a problem? What's it going to hit?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But in Salt Lake or in going over Donner, right? Those are examples of areas where I think there's going to be drivers behind the wheel for quite some time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's going to be a while.
Yeah.
Before and the truck drivers are going to end up becoming, I think, more of a truck manager, right? You may have a fleet that you are managing. Someone right now, the way they're doing it, it's just drop and hook. So, someone has to crank the dollies and hook the trailer up and do a proper pre-trip on it before they punch the button and say, okay, it's good to go.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think the need for the labor of the truck drivers is not going away. And we're continually increasing the amount of freight that's traveling across the country.
Yep.
But if you don't like it, all you have to do, there was an accident on Tuesday out here. I'm sure, I know you've probably seen it. I don't know if anybody who's watching this video has seen it. I'm positive the driver was distracted or had some kind of medical event, and he rear-ended a tractor. And it knocked the cab completely off the truck. It was laying in the ditch.
Yeah.
I don't think the computer makes the same mistake.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, those are the types of accidents that if you want to slow down the creep of autonomous vehicles on your career as a driver, be really good. Be really safe. Pay attention all the time. That's how you're going to slow the spread of autonomy. A lot of drivers probably don't realize that. We can't just dig our heels in. And that's the one thing when I came back from TMC, I said, we can't just say it's not happening. It's happening. But someone is going to take advantage of it. Someone is going to haul the freight. We need to figure out, what does it look like for us? What can we do as a company to take advantage of these systems that are coming, right? And I don't know what that, like, we don't have a plan to order an autonomous truck. I don't want anybody to mishear me here, but I'm going to do my very best to stay educated on it so that when the time is right, we're ready.
Yeah, I think Stokes is going to be in a particularly good position going forward for two reasons. One, because you are keeping on top of this, and as technology develops and it makes sense from a business and safety standpoint for us to make those moves, we're not afraid to make those moves.
Yes.
The other side of that is because our drivers are so outstanding on their safety record, we're not going to have the same pressure that some other companies might have in making a lot of those changes.
Yeah. We Val says it quite often. We want to be on the leading edge. We don't want to be on the bleeding edge.
Yep.
So, we weren't the very first company that went and got camera mirrors. We weren't the very first company that got forward-facing radar or lane keep assist. But we adopted it pretty quickly once we felt comfortable with the technology and we could see a return on investment. It's going to be the same way with autonomy. We're looking at autonomous solutions for our office staff. There's a company that actually automates appointment setting. We're looking at that to help our office staff because there's several people in our office that spend a lot of hours sending emails, making phone calls, setting appointments. And every once in a while, there's a mistake that's made. Not on purpose, it just happens. A computer doesn't turn around a number, right? Or appoint the same load twice. Humans can have that fallacy once in a while. We're looking at autonomous solutions in there to make sure, because usually when we find out, it's when the driver arrives and he either doesn't have an appointment or he's late, right? If we can eliminate that mistake, why would we not do it? It may cost us some money, but it may be worth it. Today, we got some preliminary cost figures on that. Today, it's not worth it. A year from now, very well might be. So we're going to continue looking at new technologies that comes and try and be prepared.
So I'm going to shamelessly plug my podcast. It should be maybe in the middle of May. I'm going to be early May or middle of May. I'm going to have a podcast out on AI and how it's going to affect our future as a society, as an economy, governance, across the board. What is AI now? What is it going to be turning into? Because these are some really this is the biggest challenge that humanity has ever faced. And so having some really down to earth and open conversations about what all of that means for all of us and how we can all be part of the conversation and trying to be smart about making that transition and what that transition looks like and what we're transitioning to. I think everybody should be a part of that conversation. So I'm very glad to be a part of Stokes and seeing where that journey takes us.
Well, we're sure happy to have you here, Preston. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope I didn't scare anybody talking about future tech. I just, man, it's changing faster than we ever would have thought. I can remember telling my son 5 years ago that I thought someday my grandkids were going to be like, man, you used to drive one of those? And some people saying, oh no. And guess what? It's coming. I don't even have grandchildren yet. I'm starting to wonder if by the time they're born, if a lot of it will be driving on its own. I think there will be people behind the wheel for a while. It's not going to happen right away. But eventually, most of the transportation across the country, I think, is going to be autonomous. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Don't be too depressed after you watch this. We're still trucking. Let's go. All right. Thanks, Preston. We'll see you soon.